Bureau of Public Enterprise, that organization very much synonymous with deregulation and liberalization. What kind of deregulation would you want to see, or what kind of deregulation now would you be supporting in the oil industry?
Well, you know, the BPE was in charge of deregulating all monopoly sectors, okay? And I honestly want to give the example of the telecoms industry because Nigerians can see what has worked there. When you have a monopoly sector like we have in the oil and gas industry now, where NNPC is the behemoth and it acts as the regulator as well as operator, you have to first rewrite the sector policy. Make sure that the sector recognizes that there will be competitive markets and so on and so forth. So get the policy right first. That's what we did in telecoms. We rewrote the policy. Okay? The second step is to take that policy and convert it into legislation. So you write a new law that will not only demonopolize the sector, but create regulatory agencies and remove control of the sector from the ministries. That's the second step. We did that in telecoms. We wrote the communications law that empowered the NCC to be able to auction GSM licenses. Okay, before then, the NCC had been in existence since 1992, but it could not license any GSM operator because NITEL had the monopoly of telecommunication services. So you need to get the law right. Then the third step, once the law is passed by the National Assembly, is you establish sector regulators. Okay, in the case of telecommunications, we had NCC, but we needed just to strengthen it. Okay, in the oil and gas industry, there is no regulator aside. The PPPRA is a pathetic price facilitator. It's not a regulator. You need an independent regulator that does not take orders from the government, that sits between the consumer, the government, and the operators. So we need to establish that there is none today. And then you can create an environment where other private sector entrants can come in. Okay, this is what we did in telecoms, and it has worked. Nigerians can see the results. Now, when we gave out 3 GSM licenses and reserved 1 license for NITEL and they started operating, the price of a SIM card was 10,000 naira. The price was very high because the operators targeted the upper end of the market. But after some time, some operators began to come down, and now because of competition, they're even giving away SIM cards and phones for free. That is how deregulation is done. So what I would like to see in the oil and gas industry, drawing parallel from telecoms, and we did the same thing in power. The process is still going on. We wrote in the new power policy, we got a new law passed. Tokumbo Efiko was in the Senate when that passed. And then we went on to establish National Electricity Regulatory Commission. And the NERC is now spearheading the deregulation of the power sector. NEPA has been unbundled. New companies are being licensed to generate power and distribute power. That is deregulation. Okay? So what we need to do in the oil and gas industry is first, we get the petroleum industry bill passed. The sector policy has already been written. We did that in BPE. We drafted the law, passed the petroleum industry bill, established sector regulators, open up the market. This can take 1 to 1.5 years. Do that, and then in that period, you can revamp the refinery so that we can be producing our petroleum products locally. Therefore, we can sell it at our own price and move on. What the government is doing is just imposing a tax on Nigerians to finance its own consumption because the government has been reckless spending our money with abandon. And they should step back from that. And it is not a failure of government to say, we are wrong, we made a mistake, we want to go back and get it right. That it's not, leadership has nothing to do with pride. Leadership has everything to do with getting things right. I appreciate my brother Sanusi for saying that the government has to move, because the government is saying they will not move. If they move, they will be lame dog, and so on and so forth. The people telling Jonathan that are his enemies, these are the same people that pushed President Obasanjo to do many wrong policies, and we are fighting them even within the government. They should stop it. The government must go back to 65 and let us work out a roadmap by consensus that Nigerians can connect to. You can't sit in the villa and start saying you will do this, you will do that, and you will not go back. Leadership has nothing to do with pride. Leadership has everything to do with getting things right.
All right.